My cousin falsely accused me of assault. My entire family abandoned me without listening. But 8 months later, she admitted she lied, and her life fell apart. Lost her job, her boyfriend left, and her own mother kicked her out. I'm 29 years old. I work in logistics for a distribution company, and I need to get this story off my chest because what happened like 8 months ago basically destroyed my family. Or, well, what I thought was my family. The thing is, I was always the quiet type, you know, the one who avoids drama, the one who gets along with everyone at family gatherings. That was me. I grew up in a pretty close family, or so I thought, with my parents, my brother Lucas, who's 2 years older than me, and a bunch of aunts, uncles and cousins we'd always get together with for birthdays, Christmas, those things. My cousin Ashley was part of that circle, daughter of my Aunt Diana, who's my mom's sister. And even though Ashley was always a bit dramatic, like one of those people who everything happens to them, and they always have some problem, I never thought she'd be capable of doing what she did. I guess I should start from the beginning so you understand the whole situation. Ashley and I weren't super close, but we didn't have problems either. You know what I mean? We'd see each other at family gatherings, chat for a bit, nothing major. She was like 26 at the time, worked at a call center or something like that, and was always changing boyfriends, changing jobs, changing plans. She was one of those people who never really settles into anything. My mom always said Ashley needed to mature a bit, but she said it with affection, you know, because she's her niece and watched her grow up. At that time, I'd been dating Emma, my girlfriend, for like 3 years, who's basically the best person I know, but we'll get to that. We lived in separate apartments, but saw each other almost every day. And she got along well with my family, came to gatherings with me. My mom adored her, all normal. The whole thing started in June last year. It was at a family barbecue, one of those typical Sunday ones where everyone brings something. My dad takes charge of the grill like it's a sacred ritual. The uncles drink beer and talk about soccer. The aunts gather in the kitchen to gossip about people who didn't come, you know, the dynamic. That particular day, I remember it was hot as hell, like 95 degrees or something, and we were all in my parents' backyard. Ashley arrived late, as always, and brought her boyfriend of the moment, a guy named Mateo or Marcos. I don't really remember, to be honest. I just know it was the first time I'd seen him. Emma couldn't go that day because she had to work. She was covering an extra shift at the hospital where she's a nurse, and I told her no problem, go ahead. It was just another boring family barbecue. Everything was normal for most of the day. We ate, had some drinks. My dad burned a couple of sausages as usual, but nobody said anything. Lucas and I played cards for a while with my Uncle George. Ashley was there with her boyfriend, but I barely exchanged a couple words with her. Like, hi, how are you? How's it going? The typical polite small talk. We weren't even alone at any point. There were always people around. Literally, we were like 20 people total. I left around 7 in the evening because I had to go in early to work the next day. Said goodbye to everyone. Kissed my mom, fist bumped my dad and Lucas, and went to my apartment thinking it had been just another Sunday, one of many. What happened next, I still have trouble believing, and that's even though months have passed. It was like 11 at night. I was on the couch watching a series with a beer. Super chill. When my phone rings, it was Ashley. I thought it was weird because she never called me. Never. Literally. I think it was the first time I'd seen her name on my screen like that. I answered, and the first thing I heard was sobbing, like crying hard. And I got scared because I thought something serious had happened. An accident, I don't know. Something. I asked her what was wrong, if she was okay, where she was, and she started yelling at me, literally yelling, saying, how dare I do that to her, that I was a bastard, that she was going to report me. I froze, completely confused, didn't understand anything she was saying. I asked her what she was talking about, and she started accusing me. Just like that, out of nowhere, saying that at the barbecue I had touched her inappropriately, that I had said things to her, that I had cornered her in the kitchen when we were alone. I felt like someone had thrown a bucket of cold water on me. I literally was speechless, with the phone in my hand trying to process what I'd just heard. I told her she was crazy, that never happened, that we weren't even alone at any point. But she kept crying and yelling, saying she wasn't going to let me get away with it. that I was an abuser. Super strong words that left me shaking. I tried to reason with her, tell her to think carefully about what she was saying, that this was a very serious accusation, but she hung up on me. I sat there, with my heart racing a mile a minute, unable to believe what had just happened. I called Emma immediately, told her everything, and she was also shocked, but told me to stay calm, that the truth always comes out, that obviously what Ashley was saying was crazy. I thought maybe Ashley was drunk or high, or had some kind of psychotic episode. I don't know. I was looking for some logical explanation because what she was accusing me of was simply impossible. It hadn't happened. I considered calling my mom to tell her, but it was late, and I didn't want to worry her unnecessarily, so I decided to wait until the next morning to clear up this whole thing that was obviously a horrible misunderstanding. I went to bed but couldn't sleep. I was up all night tossing and turning, thinking about what had happened. Why Ashley would do something like this. If maybe she'd confused someone else with me. 1,000 theories that didn't make sense. The next morning, I woke up to like 30 messages and 20 missed calls. My heart sank before opening my phone because I knew something very bad had happened. Ashley had posted a message in the family group chat, one of those groups where everyone is, literally everyone, from my parents to distant cousins I see once a year. The message was long, super emotional, saying that I had assaulted her at the barbecue, that she couldn't keep silent anymore, that she needed the family to know what kind of person I was, that she was devastated, that she couldn't stop crying. She used words like abuse, violation of trust, trauma, really heavy stuff. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that there were people responding to her, giving her support, telling her she was very brave for speaking up, that they believed her, that they were there for her. I read all of that feeling my world falling apart. I started writing a response, trying to explain that none of that was true, that we weren't even alone. But before sending anything, my mom called. Her voice sounded weird, like between angry and disappointed, and she asked me if what Ashley was saying was true. I swore on everything I hold dear that no, that it was a complete lie, that I didn't understand why Ashley was doing this. But my mom was silent for a very long moment and then said, "Ashley is very affected, Daniel. Why would she lie about something like this?" Those words hurt more than anything Ashley had said, because it was my own mother doubting me. I tried to explain again, but she said she needed time to think, that the situation was very delicate, and hung up on me. I called Lucas, my brother, thinking he at least would listen to me, but he was also weird, like distant. He told me he didn't know what to believe, that Ashley seemed very convincing, that he hadn't seen anything at the barbecue, but that didn't mean it hadn't happened at some point. I told him he was my brother, that he'd known me my whole life, that he knew I'd never do something like that, but he just said he needed to stay neutral until things cleared up. Neutral. My own brother choosing to be neutral instead of defending me. That broke something inside me. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like everything I'd trusted my whole life was crumbling in a matter of hours. My Aunt Deanna, Ashley's mom, sent me a private message calling me a pig, saying how dare I touch her daughter, that I was going to regret it, that she was going to make sure the whole family knew what kind of monster I was. I couldn't even respond because she blocked me immediately. Other relatives started sending me messages, some asking for my version, others directly saying horrible things to me, accusing me without even listening. I left the family group, blocked a bunch of people, and sat on my apartment couch trying to understand how my life had become a nightmare overnight because of a lie. A fucking lie that didn't even make sense. Emma arrived at my apartment around 2 in the afternoon. She'd taken the day off at a hospital as soon as she found out what was happening. She found me completely messed up, literally hadn't showered, hadn't eaten anything, was just there staring at my phone watching my family destroy me in messages. She hugged me and I cried. Cried like I hadn't cried since I was a kid. Because it wasn't just the false accusation, but the fact that nobody believed me. Not my mom, not my brother, nobody except Emma. She told me we were going to get through this, that the truth would come out, but at that moment, I didn't believe her. I felt like my life was over, that even if it was proven I was innocent, the damage was done, people would always have that doubt. The following days were hell. I couldn't concentrate at work. Barely ate. Slept like 3 hours a night, having nightmares where my whole family was pointing at me, accusing me of things I didn't do. My dad called me once to say he hoped I'd tell the truth, that if I'd done something wrong, it was better to admit it now, and when I told him the truth was I hadn't done anything, that Ashley was lying, he just sighed and said he didn't know what to think. He didn't even defend me, didn't even consider that maybe his son was telling the truth and there was something else going on. That call ended with him saying it was better we took some time, that when things calmed down we'd talk, and I told him fine, if that's what he wanted, not to call me again. I made a decision right there. I cut off all contact with my family. I blocked everyone. My mom, my dad, Lucas, the aunts and uncles, the cousins, everyone except Emma. I decided that if they could believe Ashley more than me, then they weren't the family I thought they were. It sounded dramatic. I know. But I was so angry, so hurt, that I didn't see another way out. Emma supported me in everything, told me she respected my decision and that she'd be with me no matter what. I started therapy because I was basically having anxiety attacks. I woke up several times in the middle of the night, unable to breathe, thinking about how a lie had destroyed my whole life in seconds. Weeks passed, and I didn't hear anything more from Ashley or the family. There was a moment when I thought maybe there would be legal consequences, that Ashley would go to the police or something, but nothing happened. That made me think she knew she had nothing, no proof, because obviously nothing had happened, but the damage was already done. I stopped going to places where I knew I might run into a family member, changed gyms, basically reorganized my life to avoid any contact. Emma helped me a lot with all this. She was the only reason I didn't sink completely. She convinced me to join a new gym, to reconnect with friends from college I'd stopped seeing, to basically rebuild my social circle away from my toxic family. And it worked. Little by little, I started feeling better. I'm not gonna lie, there were horrible days where I thought about everything I'd lost, about how I'd never have those family gatherings again, about how my own parents had turned their backs on me. But there were also good days where I realized maybe this was a blessing in disguise, that I'd gotten rid of people who didn't really value me. I focused on my work, got a promotion in October, started going out more with Emma, we met new people, formed a really cool group of friends we'd go out with on weekends. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, without the family drama, without having to deal with the toxicity of people who'd condemned me without listening. Fast forward to February this year, like 7 or 8 months after the whole mess. I was at work reviewing some spreadsheets when I get a message request on Facebook. It was Ashley. My first instinct was to ignore it and block her, but something made me read it. The message said, "Hi Daniel, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to talk to you. It's important. Please." I read it like 5 times, trying to understand what she could want after so long. I considered not responding, but curiosity got the better of me. So I said, "What do you want, Ashley?" And her response left me frozen. She sent me a long message saying she'd been wrong, that what she'd said about me wasn't true, that she was going through a very bad time in her life back then, that her boyfriend had left her right before the barbecue and she was really messed up, mixing pills with alcohol, and that she'd confused things, that basically she'd made it all up. I read that message and didn't feel relief or satisfaction. I felt pure rage. This chick had destroyed my relationship with my family, had put me through the worst time of my life, had made me doubt everything, and now she comes with a sorry, I got confused. I wrote her a message I won't repeat here because I used some pretty strong words, basically telling her she was garbage of a person, that she'd ruined my life with her lies, that there was no possible forgiveness for what she did. She kept apologizing, saying she understood my anger, that she'd been to therapy, that she realized the damage she'd caused, that she was going to tell the family the truth. I told her to do whatever she wanted, that I didn't care anymore, and blocked her. But Ashley kept her word, apparently. A few days later, I started getting calls from my family. First, my mom, crying, asking for forgiveness, saying she'd talked to Ashley, that Ashley had told her everything, that she didn't know what to say, that she felt horrible for doubting me. I listened to everything in silence, and when she finished, I said, "And what do you want me to do with that, Mom? You doubted me when I needed you most." You chose to believe Ashley over me, your own son. And now what? Everything goes back to normal because she admitted she lied? She kept crying, saying she was sorry, that it had been a terrible mistake, that she wanted to fix things. I told her I'd think about it and hung up. Then Lucas called. He also apologized, said he'd been an idiot, that he should have defended me, that he was sorry. I asked him why he didn't defend me at the time, and he said he was afraid the family would turn against him too, that he chose the easy way out, and that had been eating at him ever since. At least he was honest, I guess. I told him I appreciated the apology, but needed time, that I wasn't going to reopen my life to people who abandoned me so easily. My dad was the last to call. His call was short, awkward, saying Ashley had admitted everything, that he regretted how things turned out, that he hoped we could talk at some point. He didn't cry, didn't fall apart with apologies like my mom, but I could hear in his voice that he felt bad. I told him I'd think about it, and we ended the call there. What happened next with Ashley is almost poetic in a way. My cousin Nathan, one of the few I'd reconnected with because he had believed me from the start, but lived in another city and hadn't gotten involved in the mess, kept me updated. Turns out Ashley lost her job. I don't know exactly why, but apparently her reputation for being dramatic and a liar caught up with her in the workplace too. Her boyfriend left her when he found out about all the mess she'd created with the false accusations, and the best part, my Aunt Diana, her own mother, kicked her out of the house. According to Nathan, my aunt finally realized Ashley's pattern of behavior. How she was always creating drama, making things up, playing the victim, and this time was the straw that broke the camel's back. Ashley now lives I don't know where. Basically, the whole family told her to fuck off. And although part of me feels she deserves it, another part just doesn't feel anything. Like she doesn't exist in my life anymore. As for my family, little by little, I've been rebuilding some relationships, but very cautiously. I see my mom every so often, usually for a quick coffee, and even though she keeps apologizing every time we see each other, there's something that broke between us that I don't know if it'll ever be like before. With Lucas, I'm better. I think his honesty about why he didn't defend me made me at least respect that he didn't lie to me now. With my dad, things are still weird. We talk on the phone sometimes, but we haven't seen each other face to face again. The rest of the family, those who condemned me without listening, who sent me horrible messages, they're still blocked and probably will be forever. Last week, my mom asked me if I was going to my dad's birthday next month. I told her I wasn't sure, that I had to think about it. Emma tells me to do what makes me comfortable, that there's no right answer, and she's right. Sometimes I think maybe with time things will get better, that I'll be able to truly forgive. But other times I think what happened left a permanent scar and I'll never be able to trust them the same way. And that's okay, I guess. Not everything has to have a happy, movie ending. Reality is more complicated than that. Grayer. And I'm learning to live in that gray area where things aren't completely fine, but aren't completely bad either. What I do know is that Emma is the best thing that ever happened to me, and that this experience, though horrible, taught me who's really there when things get tough. And that's a lesson I wouldn't trade for anything.